Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to have you here today. Today, we're exploring the power of silent disciplines. This presentation will show you how transformation often happens quietly, through small, everyday choices rather than grand moments. We'll look at how subtle shifts and invisible disciplines can, over time, change the course of your life. So, let's dive in and discover how these quiet practices can lead to powerful change. Let's dive into the core ideas behind unlocking emotional freedom. In her impactful video, Selma explores how understanding detachment, manifestation, and emotional freedom can truly transform our lives. She emphasizes that the silent disciplines we often avoid, things that might feel uncomfortable or even punishing at first, are actually the habits that set us free. Today, I want to focus on some of these habits that can be life-changing. First, practicing detachment, even when it hurts, is about learning to let go of attachment to outcomes, to approval, or to specific results. It's tough at first because it feels counterintuitive, but it creates space for peace and clarity. Next, choosing dignity over desperation is about maintaining our self-respect and integrity, even in difficult moments. It's about holding on to our values instead of resorting to behavior driven by fear or neediness. Lastly, recognizing emotional addiction is crucial. Being aware of when we're stuck in patterns like needing validation, approval, or constantly seeking external reassurance. These habits keep us trapped, but once we see them clearly, we can begin to break free. All of these habits, though silent and sometimes uncomfortable, are powerful tools that help us move toward true emotional freedom. They're the foundation for the manifestation process and for creating a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. Let's talk about the foundation of transformation, starting with practicing detachment, even when it hurts. At first, detachment might not feel empowering at all. It can seem like punishment, resisting the urge to chase after what you want, waiting quietly instead of acting impulsively, and choosing dignity even when your heart is screaming for something more. But here's the key. This is actually the foundation of real transformation. Detachment teaches us discipline, self-control, and the strength to hold our ground, especially when our emotions are trying to take over. It's about creating space between us and our reactions, which is essential for growth. Now, let's talk about choosing dignity over desperation. When someone pulls away or life doesn't go the way we hoped, our instinct is often to cling even harder. But true dignity means letting go, knowing when to step back instead of begging for attention or validation. Choosing dignity in those moments trains our nervous system to associate self-respect with peace, not with seeking approval from others. It's about honoring ourselves first, which ultimately leads us to a more stable and authentic sense of self. Together, these practices form the core of lasting transformation, building resilience, self-control, and a deeper sense of self-worth. Let's talk about reclaiming your power. Many of us mistake love or desire for emotional addiction. We overthink texts, obsess over replies, or create fantasies around one person or outcome. Recognizing this as addiction can be painful but also incredibly freeing. Once you see attachment as a form of addiction, you can start the detox process. Now, when we obsess over someone or something, we're essentially handing over our power. Remember, energy follows attention. So, learning to redirect that energy back to yourself, toward your goals, your growth, your peace, is a silent but powerful revolution. And here's a key paradox to understand. The more you grip, the more what you want tends to slip away. Desperation pushes things away, but detachment, trusting instead of forcing, actually attracts what's meant for you. When you radiate trust rather than fear, you invite alignment and the opportunities that truly resonate with you. Let's talk about cultivating inner stability. The key idea here is valuing peace over proximity. You see, you don't prove your worth by tolerating inconsistency or chaos around you. Instead, you prove it by walking away the moment your peace is compromised. That's a powerful shift because it rewires your self-worth from being conditional on others' behavior to being rooted in your own inner stability. When you prioritize your peace, you're reinforcing that your sense of value comes from within. Now, let's move to releasing the timeline. Many of us get obsessed with certainty, asking when, how, who, why, because we want control. But life doesn't always follow a predictable path. Releasing the timeline doesn't mean lowering your standards or settling. It means creating space for better things to come into your life in ways you couldn't plan for. It's about trusting the process and understanding that sometimes the best outcomes happen when we let go of rigid expectations. This approach helps us stay grounded and open to possibilities that are often even more fulfilling than we imagined. Let's talk about manifesting from a place of wholeness rather than fear. True manifestation isn't about begging or forcing things to happen. It's really about alignment. When your energy is calm, trusting, and in sync with what you want, everything flows more naturally. You can't attract abundance from a place of lack or love from a place of fear. When you're centered and trusting, manifestations come effortlessly. This habit of aligning yourself shifts not just your results, but your entire relationship with possibility, making everything feel more accessible and less stressful. Now, let's explore questioning the stories in your head. Often, what we're grieving isn't actually the person, the job, or the opportunity itself. It's the story we told ourselves about what it meant. We attach meaning and worth to these external things, and when they're gone, we feel lost. Detachment, then, is about separating reality from the stories we've built around it. Asking yourself, why did this matter so much to me? Helps you see where you've tied your worth to illusions. When you do this, you start to loosen the grip of those stories and open yourself to new possibilities. Let's talk about the process of detachment. It's important to remember that detachment isn't something that happens instantly like flipping a switch. Instead, it's a journey that unfolds over time. The first stage is acknowledgement, where you admit that whatever you're dealing with mattered to you. Recognizing this is crucial because it validates your feelings. Next comes self-inquiry, where you explore why this situation affected you so deeply. Understanding the root causes helps you gain clarity. Then we move into processing, where you begin to see the bigger picture and start to understand how everything fits together in your life. After that, creative action involves channeling your energy into something new, finding fresh ways to move forward and create positive change. Finally, we reach freedom, where the memories or feelings no longer define you. This entire process is about normalizing the ups and downs because healing isn't always a straight line. Sometimes progress feels slow, but knowing that these stages are a natural part of the journey can help prevent shame and encourage patience with yourself. All right, let's talk about some practical steps to help us detach and move forward. First, we need to address the idea of cutting the supply. You can't truly detach if you're still feeding the connection. That means avoiding behaviors like checking their social media, rereading old messages, or keeping doors open just in case. These actions keep the wound alive and make it harder to heal. True detachment involves creating real distance, so practical steps like muting, blocking, or deleting become necessary. It's about setting boundaries to protect your emotional health. Next, let's discuss refusing to chase closure. We often tell ourselves we need more answers to feel okay again. But the reality is, we already know enough. Repeatedly revisiting the story isn't about understanding more. It's about trying to make the pain less intense. Closure doesn't actually come from them. It comes from within us. It's a decision to accept that it's over, to stop looking for reasons or explanations that might never come. Remember, real healing starts when we decide to close that chapter and move on. Now let's talk about rewiring your life force. Your focus is your most valuable resource, your life force. When you let it get drained by ghosts of the past, you're actually draining your future. Instead, think about redirecting that energy into movement, trying out new environments, or engaging in creative work. This isn't just about distraction, it's about rewiring your brain. It creates new pathways, new input, and gives you fresh proof of life beyond what you've lost. Next, embracing peace, especially when it feels uncomfortable, is a huge step. Peace can feel strange at first because many of us have been addicted to chaos. We're used to the drama, the chase, the adrenaline, that's become our normal. But relearning how to sit in stillness without craving that intensity is one of the most radical habits you can build. It's about rewiring your relationship with calm and stillness. And finally, walking away while you still want to stay. This is perhaps the most challenging and transformative habit. Anyone can walk away once they're completely over it, but real power comes in resisting that urge to hold on. It's about choosing to detach when every fiber of your being still wants to cling. That's when true growth happens, when you can step away while still feeling the pull, knowing you're making a conscious, powerful choice. So here we are at the last slide, and I want to emphasize that these 15 habits we've discussed aren't flashy or glamorous. They don't give you instant results or quick wins. In fact, at the beginning, they might even feel like a form of punishment, loneliness, silence, uncertainty. But here, the key, beneath that initial discomfort is where real transformation happens. Detachment, for example, isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's actually about being clear, having that discipline to choose yourself repeatedly, even when it's hard. It's about reclaiming your power over what once controlled you. When you master these habits, you're not just changing your circumstances, you're fundamentally changing who you are. And that, I believe, is the most lasting shift of all. It's the kind of change that doesn't fade with time because it's rooted in your inner transformation. That's the real reward, becoming a different person, one who's stronger, clearer, and more resilient for good.